obviously there's no way to know. But I think Dibs and I both agree that this is not something that came together over the last week. Listen, I'll take you back to, was it week 7 when they played Minnesota? I remember talking to you about this then. That was the only sign you needed to know that something was not cool.
Well, I told him, and he knew it was wrong and stuff.
The guy held a press conference 48 hours later and said something along, I don't want to misquote. Steve knows he messed up. Have you ever heard a head coach say that about a coordinator because of a play call? Ever. I've never heard something like that.
Yeah.
And I walked away that day and I'm like, oh, they don't like each other. And I think that they worked through it to a point where they could obviously coexist. But that was the beginning of the end, and quite frankly, it might have already been the end.
The quote was, yeah, he knows. He knows he messed up on that call. I have no problem with zero blitzes, especially when people need a lot of yards. If you need to get 20 to kick a field goal, I have no problem with a zero blitz. But I do when there's 16 seconds left. That's when he lost track. There was no necessary need for that just because of the time. I have no problem with that play call, but when it's that time you can't do that, that's not an option.
Oh, my God.
Shanahan.
You might as well fired him right there. And Lucas came in and asked a question, which you've sort of touched on a couple of times today and tonight. And he's like, what if the Niners win the Super Bowl? Is Steve still out? And I'm with you. I think the answer is still yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been today. Well,
the
like there was
parade
going to be a
today.
parade. So, no.
Mid-parade? Steve's parade vehicle gets pulled
Steve's
over.
Car breaks
gets pulled
down.
over.
It's left.
Boop, boop. All right, Wilks, pull it over.
They get him in a car. It's got 4 flat tires.
Right?
Oh, damn. I don't think we're going to make it out there, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back. Yeah.
I do think that it probably would have been next week.
It didn't work. It's not. This is not scapegoating and blaming him for losing in the Super Bowl. There obviously was a lot of work that went into this all year long, and the breadcrumbs are there that it never felt good. It never felt good to Nick Bosa. You know, I wonder what Fred and Dre would say about it. I wonder what Chase Young would say about it. I wonder what Javon Hargrave would say about it. But there were too many times this year where it felt like defense over here in this corner of the room and the offense over there in that corner of the room. And but more importantly, defensive line over here in this corner of the room, defensive backs over here in that corner of the room. They weren't working together.
Right, and it felt like, defensive coach up in the booth, defensive team down on the field. And that's what it was until he needed to come down, and he was beckoned down on the field. And, we all thought, oh, that was the fix that they needed because they went out and they won 5 straight games. I believe that was after the bye when he came down from being in the booth after they had lost 3 in a row.
Right.
You had the bye. You went to Jacksonville. The defense actually looked great.
It was amazing that day.
Rested and fresh. And, Jacksonville turned out to not be as good as we thought.
Also
and
true.
The defense did stack some good games together against lesser opponents. And so we thought, okay, problem solved. But turns out the problems were still there.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. We'll keep going with your phone calls, but there's some interesting new audio we just got. Emmanuel Acho, FS1, listen to what he says about Shanahan and Wilks.
Kyle Shanahan got me heated. Come here, fam. Shanahan, you wasted a season. You hired a defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks who you never believed in the first place. Go back to the Minnesota Vikings game, middle of the season, early in the season. Steve Wilks runs an all-out blitz. Shanahan, he berates him at the end of the game in the post-game press conference. But in 2017, when Wilks was a coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, a defensive coordinator, and they had a top-flight defense, he blitzed 47% of the time. So blitzing is what Steve Wilks does. If you didn't want Wilks to blitz, why'd you hire him? Then Super Bowl, biggest stage, everybody watching in the biggest moment. You call a timeout to question Steve Wilks. You never believed in the dude in the first place. Now you're going to fire him. Now your Niners defensive players are going on their 4th defensive coordinator in 5 seasons. Saleh, D'Amico, Wilks, question mark. Shanahan, you got to know what you're doing before you do it. You can't just be hiring dudes all willy-nilly when you got all pros all over the defense. You're wasting their careers. Hire somebody that you believe in and go get the job done.
Totally agree.
Yeah, love the passion.
I totally agree. I totally agree. It's why I will probably, unfortunately, right, like Kyle Shanahan and the Niners will now run for the hills. My job in this industry, your job, Dibs, is we have to be here every day. So I don't get to go to a lot of press conferences with Kyle Shanahan. But my God, I would love to ask, why did you hire him in the first place? Why? Why would you go outside the scheme to bring someone in and admit right up front, yeah, this is going to be hard here. We're going to have to, chase around and do this on the fly. It's like you chose the path of more resistance purposefully. You knew it. You knew from the beginning. You sat there at a fork in the road because D'Amico Ryans was hired away. You looked at the fork. One of them had clear, smooth sailing, and the other one was under construction. And you went, yeah, let's go that way. I'm not bothered by orange signs. Why?
I don't know who the clear, smooth sailing hire would have been. And I think that's
somebody on the tree. There's going to be so many people.
Yeah, we can go back and look. Brandon Staley was not available.
Not available.
He was still coaching the Chargers in his last days. And I don't know who else out there he felt like would have been a good candidate. I'll see if I can go back and find who else they interviewed and who else the candidates were.
But there's got to be so many people on the, if you want to call it this, the Vic Fangio tree. How many, he's been coaching forever. There's got to be so many people underneath it. And good God, who doesn't want the 49er DC position? 2 in a row have gotten head coaching jobs. That is a super sought-after position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could have had anybody.
You would figure. Interesting what Acho says about the blitz percentage. In 2017, if the Panthers blitzed 47% of the time, this year the Niners were third to last, I think, in blitz percentage. At blitz percentage, they were at 18%, third to last. Mm-hmm. So you take a guy who likes to blitz almost half the time, and you bring him here, and basically your system here is we're rushing 4, we're going to go wide 9, we're going to rush with 4, and we're going to use the 4 up front to stop the run and use our incredibly fast and good linebackers to clean up the mess and have our secondary rally up with hard-hitting safeties. That's how we're going to do it here. We're going to play a little soft in coverage, and we're going to not blitz very often. And so Wilks comes in, and he's blitz happy, and you want him to adjust and adapt to that system. Seems like a bad fit.
Yeah.
And easier to say now than, back when they hired him.
Although, not impossible to say then, and the question was asked then, and it was answered then, and I don't know that the answer today makes any more sense than it did then. Yeah, we're hiring Steve Wilks because he's a great coach. He's been around forever. We think he can fit into this system. All right. But why? If you're going to sign up for a challenge, it has to be because there's an overwhelming positive somewhere else. And I'm failing to see what that was. That's all.
Yeah. And I would bet it's experience and leadership.
Yeah.
And probably his ability to make the secondary better.
But isn't that an interesting thing you just said? Okay, if you hired him for his leadership, I understand leadership, that's practice, that's the whole week, that's the whole picture. But I'm going to hire someone for their leadership, and they're going to be in the booth? If I want someone for their leadership, they're going to be next to my guys talking to them on the sideline.
Right.
Which eventually they got there. But week 10? I don't know. The whole thing, to me, it's totally head-scratcher. Philip in Oakland. Hey, Philip, what's up?
Hey, guys. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey,
man.
my point of view is he hired the right guy. Okay, they needed more blitzing. They hired the right guy, and I really feel like, let's look at it. They got to the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. I mean, if they would have hit the extra point, the game would have been won in regulation with that defensive coordinator.
Not necessarily, but I hear you. Not necessarily.
Well, okay, so what do you mean?
Well, You kick the extra point.
The extra point.
Right, but you can't just make it like the Chiefs would not have made the same decisions if they were down 4 as opposed to where they were down 3. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. True. Okay, granted. But, I mean, my point is that he hired the guy. He obviously felt like blitzing or some aspect of what Steve Wilks was going to bring was going to help the organization. And it did. They got to the Super Bowl, right? And
except they didn't
there's an argument that they could have won in regulation.
They could have. Right. I'm with you on that front, Philip. It's not the team was not a disaster this year. However, your premise is sort of saying you brought him in to blitz and it worked. Well, but they didn't. They didn't blitz. That's what Dibs just detailed. They brought in a blitzer and didn't blitz. They went down to 18% of the time with someone who's used to doing it half the time. So, like, you get what I'm saying, Philip? I'm going to stand by my point, which is no, they didn't hire the right guy. It didn't conceptually make sense from the beginning.
Well, so the argument, then you could say they hired the right guy, but he didn't execute in a way that was consistent with the way he had in the past.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they,
thanks,
thank
Phillip.
you for the call. I don't know if they wanted him to execute his game plan because it's not what they do here. They play their base with the 4 down and the wide 9, and they don't like to blitz because you feel like you don't need to blitz. And honestly, if you look at their pressure rate and their sack numbers and their interception totals, they all were comparable from last year to this year. The red zone defense got better. Mm-hmm. The problem that became a real issue was the run defense.
Yep.
And, I'm not going to sit here and break down every run and tell you that I know all the scheme, but from a defense standpoint against the run, that's where they had the biggest issue in the second half of the year.
Nick looked bothered the whole year. And if you want to put that on him, you can put it on him, but he's their best player. So look at the way we all watch Warrior basketball. Nobody's doing anything that's not okay with Steph. Not making trades that's not okay with Steph. But we're out here giving Nick Bosa the biggest contract in the history of defense and putting him in a system with a defensive coordinator that doesn't highlight him, doesn't put him in the best position to win, which is what Kyle Shanahan literally and Steve Kerr just said to us yesterday is the heart of coaching, putting your best players in their best position to win. Steve Wilks does not put Nick Bosa and that defensive line, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead in their best position to win. They underachieved this year. So if your premise for saying they hired the right guy is, well, because they made the Super Bowl, I'd argue it a different way. This may sound silly, but they made the Super Bowl in spite of this move. Their defense should have been better. I don't care how good it was. It should have been better.
Yeah.
And I think they were so much better than the rest of the NFC that they found a way to get into the Super Bowl despite playing like crap for 2 weeks and watching teams put the fear of God in them before they somehow rescued a win in games where teams didn't even belong on the field with them.
Well, Detroit belonged on the field with them.
I don't think they did.
Detroit had a very good offense.
Not if their defense played up to snuff.
If their defense in the beginning of that game especially, it was galling.
It was like the worst half of the year.
It was Gibbs. It was Montgomery. It was Reynolds on a reverse where you had 5 guys with a chance to make the tackle and you didn't, and it was 7-0 before you even had a chance to crack open the Daisy Dips. That thing escalated quickly, as the old expression goes.
Yep.
I'm looking at an article from I had to get one in. I'm looking at an article from last year from Niners Wire about from Kyle Madsen, friend of the program.
Hi, Kyle.
6 options to replace D'Amico Ryans, and one of them, Steve Wilks.
Steve Wilks, all right.
Vic Fangio, but he runs a 3-4, so I think that was a big reason why they didn't even consider him because they didn't want to go to that. Chris Harris, who ended up getting another job. Ejiro Evero, who got the DC job in Carolina. Another young guy, Chris Kasarik, which would have been an elevation sensation. Corey Undlin. These are guys who have never been defensive coordinators. So I think that Kyle Shanahan looked at the candidates and thought, I want a guy with experience. I have an experienced team, Super Bowl ready. I don't want to roll the dice with a guy who's never done this before.
I get it, but that's what they had just done and struck
Twice.
gold with D'Amico Ryans
And Robert Saleh,
and Robert Saleh. So I'm sorry, man. If I'm looking at this objectively, Kyle went the wrong way.
But this is my hypothetical look at what Kyle Shanahan may have been thinking. I don't know, and you don't know, and maybe we will never know. And perhaps with this new hire, because now it's going to be, a fourth straight year or fourth coordinator in 5 years, actually, because I think D'Amico's there for a couple. You're going to need a new coordinator, and so does he try to bring in another experienced guy, or do you elevate somebody from your staff, or like you're saying, find somebody from the tree?
Yeah, just do somebody who does what you do.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
To me, it's easy who you hire.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Bring him in.
Who?
I'm going to show you for the YouTube audience. What am I wearing, Mark?
Yeah, well, we're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah. What am I wearing, Willard? What am I wearing, Willard?
Wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, I am.
I'm bringing him in.
Mark.
Can you imagine?
Mark. Bring in the hoodie. Well, and he has press avail, so Kyle can and stuff, and then Bill. How do you think your run defense looked this past week? Well,
Yeah, well, we're on to Cincinnati.
I think we're going to be on to Cincinnati.
I'm just
bring him in
now, so
bring him in.
I don't have to do this anymore.
Yes, he does.
I mean, I'm built for this.
Once a week. Yes, YouTube audience. Thank you, D-Lou, on the YouTube.
I just say I'm sort of built for this.
I'm wearing a hoodie. Bring in the hoodie.
I am prepared.
It's hot.
Take the hoodie off.
Thank you.
I am prepared to take what I eat for breakfast every day and slap it on my face. I'm going to eat it. Thank you.
No, he's not going to eat it is the thing. I'm going to wear it.
I am prepared to end up with egg all over my face. What will I offer here?
Will you literally put egg on your face? Because that's what the people want.
Okay.
You won't. Wait.
Yes. I will
Won't.
I will do.
I love Lucas.
I will do an entire show with egg on my face. Literally. If the 49ers hire Bill Belichick to be the defensive coordinator. Mark it.
Okay. Grandy that tape.
And
Mark it with a C.
You can make it whatever kind of egg you want. Scrambled.
Oh, yeah.
Over easy.
I'm going to poach that thing.
I mean, hard boil.
What would be the worst? Just a raw
Over
egg.
easy and plop it straight on his head.
Okay.
All right. I like it. Grandy.
The yolk just run down all
Just
show.
Dude,
raw,
Grandy's waiting.
Raw.
Yeah, raw.
Stinky.
Raw's the answer.
Yeah.
egg.
Uncooked.
Okay.
Fine. Done.
I like it.
I will do 4 hours
With egg on your face.
with runny yolk all over my cheek if the 49ers hire Bill Belichick to be the defensive coordinator.
Okay. I love this. This is great. Mark the tape.
It's a bad fit. There's no way in hell he would do it. There's no way in hell Kyle would want it. There's no way in hell you want that kind of presence in the room as a coordinator. It makes 0 sense. Therefore, it'll probably be announced at like 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Makes perfect sense. He's in need of a job. I was in need of a coordinator.
Why would you think that he wants to be a coordinator?
Maybe he wants to come and get back to his roots and coach up defense. It's what he does. His defense this year was very good.
What would make you think that he wants to do that?
What would make you think that he doesn't?
Because
So he's not getting a head coaching job, right?
Not this year.
Okay, so what's he going to do? He's not going to go into the broadcast booth?
Take a gap year. What does he need to eat or something?
He wants to be a part of the fabric.
When you look at Bill, are you like, boy, there's a guy who doesn't know how to sit down and take a breath? No, he looks like he never stands up. Bill's going to go sit on a couch.
No chance. He's a grinder, and a grinder grinds.
And he's in his 70s.
He wants to come. Hypothetically, you come here, you take Kyle under your wing, and you show Kyle how to close. Kyle, this is Bill. I'm going to show you how to close. And I
love it.
Yeah. Thank you, coach and stuff. I'm happy to have a mentor like you, and I'm really fortunate and stuff to have you here.
It's going to be 72 in 2 months.
Can you imagine the and stuff against the monotone?
Oh, my God. No. I would actually force the 49ers to all get liquored up before every press conference. You're not allowed to talk to the press until you've had 3 drinks. At least. Especially you, Bill.
I think if Bill wants a job this year, and I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows if he actually wants to work.
That would surprise me.
Come here for a year, coordinate.
You know what that would be?
It'd be a coordination sensation. Cha-ching! Totally. I don't know. Egg on your face.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
What about the pride of Redwood, who does not have a job? Thank you, Dibs.
The gum
Pete
chewer.
Carroll.
No.
Also, I'm also in my 70s.
No, yeah. Can you imagine? Listen to yourselves. Who on earth is like a Super Bowl winning head coach and gets into their 70s and they're like, you know what? We're doing it. Let's be an assistant.
If they hire
These
Pete
people
Carroll,
have had total control of organizations for decades.
If they hire Pete Carroll to be the defensive coordinator, I will do the whole 4-hour show with gum in my hair. Grandy.
That's too easy.
Gum in my beard?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
In your ears.
I will smear gum all over my beard.
Yeah.
I'll do 4 hours with gum on my face if they hire.
They're more likely to hire Marshawn
I like that,
Lynch
Lucas.
to be the defensive coordinator next year. Pete Carroll. Stop it.
Speaking of former players, I did see someone throw out on Twitter, Richard Sherman?
Well, I mean,
He can talk the talk.
yeah, he can talk. Can he coach?
No.
I mean, 5 minutes ago, you guys were like, "What? He really wanted someone with experience." Now he's going to go get a podcaster? Like,
Acho?
that does not. Yeah, there you go. Co-DCs, Acho and Sherm. I don't know, man. Like, is that even what Sherm wants to do? Is he qualified? No.
That's a leap.
I'd argue.
That's a leap.
Yeah.